For much of today, we'll be concerned with trying to write a function we're going to call max. So what does max do? It takes any array of any type whatsoever, and it returns the maximum item. So if I give it this array 5, 3, 1, 7, the max function will return 7. If I give it 3 dogs, Stuart, Elise, and Benjamin, it will find the dog with the largest size, let's say, and it will return, in this case, Benjamin. So I've actually already written a function that does this, and your question now is going to be to figure out what is wrong, if anything, with it. Now, it turns out at least one thing's going to be wrong. So I'll walk through this code really quickly before letting you think about it. So this is a main method that basically does what's on the previous slide. Creates an array of dogs with the data shown previously, calls max dogs, and then casts it as the result as a dog, and then finally that dog barks. Now the actual function looks something like this. It is a function that returns something of type object. It takes an array of objects, and the goal here is to take advantage of the fact that every class in Java ultimately extends the object class. So we work our way through the code, we set up a maximum index that indicates our best known largest thing. Yeah, you know what I mean. And then for each possible item, it says, is that item bigger than the best known? If so, then make a note of where it is, and then finally return the largest item. So your question now is to think about this, think about what compilation errors might pop up, and I've highlighted 3 areas you might want to consider. Okay, assuming you've paused and thought about it. This code right here, we'll start working our way through the main function. The first question is, when we return an object, can we cast it as a dog? And in this case, the answer is yes. This is actually the best, most typical case for casting, where you and I both know that a particular thing is actually a dog, but the static type is object, so we cast it back to dog. That's a very normal thing to do with casting. How about this? Whenever we look at this box, what's this box supposed to highlight? Well, we're passing an array of dogs, but it expects an array of objects. So does that work? Well, I haven't actually said, but yes, indeed, because a dog is an object, an array of dogs is also an array of objects. So Java will consider that totally fine. Finally, we get to this line right here. If items I is greater than items max dex, and this basically assumes that somehow the greater operator works with arbitrary object types, but in fact it does not. Okay, so that's going to be the issue we have to face. So what do we do about it? Well, one possibility is we could write a max method in the dog class, and in effect we're giving up on our dream of having a one true maximum function right here. So what would that look like maybe? I'm just going to show it because this isn't a great approach, but one approach is we would, in the dog class itself, have a max dog method that takes an array of dogs and returns the largest. So if you wanted to use this function, it might look something like this. Dog dogs equals new dog, d1, d2, d3, so we make the array. And then finally, we do dog.maxdog, the array of dogs. And here, we also avoid the need for the cast, which is kind of nice. Now, the obvious big problem with this is that we've given up with the dream of our one true max function, but there's a deeper, more fundamental reason. Okay, so what is it? Well, the issue is that let's suppose we have a cat class now, or a horse class, or an octopus, or whatever else. In all of those classes, we also need a max horse or max octopus function. If we want to do the minimum or the median or something like that, again, we have this repetition of work over and over. And so what we, in effect, have if we give up on our dream is a bunch of redundant code. So now the question is, knowing that objects cannot be compared with greater than, because how could they? How would Java know if it should use the string or the size? How could we modify this code here so that it actually does work? Okay? And I'll give you a clue. We're talking a lot about inheritance here, and think about that a little. So if we wanted to take this code, maximize it.java, and make it work, what could we do? I'll spoil it in the next video.